What's going on, a reality after show? We are back, Beast Games season 2, and boy, do I have an awesome interview today. I have Trina in the house of number 62, and we have Gloria, number 78. How are y'all?
So good. Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, I really appreciate the opportunity. I'm really excited.
Absolutely. I'm so excited to jump right in here because I want to know, what was it for both of you? Beast Games, I want to do this.
Yeah, for me, actually, I had been applying for other shows for a while, Survivor in particular, and then that never worked out. But I watched Beast Game season 1, and as I'm watching it, I was like, I'm imagining myself in the game. I was like, I can be there. I need to be there. I need to do it. And so I applied, and it was just the perfect fit. Smart versus strong, like couldn't have been a better fit. So sometimes I'm like, wow, things work out for a reason. Sometimes, don't they?
For me, I have never applied to anything before, but it just so happened that in 2019, I applied to be in a Mr. Beast YouTube video. And then obviously didn't get in on that. But season 1, I got an email asking me to apply based off of my 2019 application. However, at the time, I was postpartum. So I had just had my daughter the year prior. And then my son had just been diagnosed with autism. And I made it far enough in the casting that they had formally invited me to be on the show. And I submitted all the paperwork. I was ready to go. However, my daughter was about to turn 18 months at the time when filming would have started. And so I was really nervous because at 18 months, my son completely lost all of his speech that he had acquired. And so as a mom, it was like I wanted to be there for my daughter's last words if she also was autistic. And so I respectfully turned down the offer. And then when season 2 casting started, I was really nervous, but I just, something told me that I had to apply. And I applied and I was like, hey, if I look familiar, it's because I made it pretty far into casting. I'm ready to do this. I'm in a much better spot with my family. And at the time, I didn't know what the theme was, but my kind of hook was my IQ. And then it just so happened that it was smart versus strong. So I think, like Trina said, some things are just meant to be, and season 2 was it for me.
Yeah, I didn't know either what the theme was until I'm not sure when I found out. I feel like I didn't find out till right before I got cast, or maybe when they told me I got cast. I think I saw something that's like, you're on Team Smart. I was like, what?
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
perfect. What do you mean? Yeah, I just thought I honestly expected going into it that it was going to be like season 1, with 1,000 people, maybe more. I don't know. So it was really exciting. But I just loved Beast Game season 1 so much. I was like, I have to do it.
You find out you're on Team Smart, and then you also show up, and it's only 200 people this time. So what's running through y'all's minds? Because as you said, you see the previous season, it's 1,000. Now it's cut down real slim.
Yeah, actually, you know what? When I got there, like I said, I was under the impression that it was going to be the maybe not the same as season 1, but a similar format with 1,000 people. We're starting in Las Vegas again. But I remember we were there was like a few days of where we were in a hotel, doing like checking in process. And I remember we were in this room and I was bored because we weren't allowed to talk or anything. We were on ice, is what it's called. So I remember I counted the chairs in the room because I was so bored. And I was like, there's 210 chairs in here. Either there's 200 of us, or either there's 210 of us, or maybe I didn't want to get too excited. I was like, there's maybe other, groups that come in. Maybe we're group A and there's a group B or something like that. But yeah, when I found out, I remember they came in and told us, this is it. This is the cast. Look around. There's 200 of you. And we just freaked out, like so excited. Percentage wise, I was like, oh my gosh, my chance just went up so much higher to win. I was so excited.
Yeah, I had a similar feeling actually. Well, I thought that maybe like we were in groups in different hotels. And so I thought, oh, this is just the group that was set in this hotel, and there's other hotels who are holding the rest of the people. And so, yeah, when they brought everyone in and told us that it was only 200 people total, it was just kind of shock. And then the realization hit me, and I was like, well, it's probably going to be a lot more like cutthroat than it was last season if there's only 200 contestants. So I immediately just started thinking of like what that would mean for our gameplay, if that makes sense.
the intensity was there right off the bat because they proceed to put you into that very first challenge. How did y'all feel going into it once you heard exactly what it was? And were you guys working with anyone in particular to get yourself through it?
I feel like the first challenge, I was more nervous than I expected. I remember that. Like I went in, like I finally got on a show. It was like the best show ever. Like what I really want to do, on Team Smart. And then I show up, and immediately I'm like, oh my god, I'm actually nervous. This is crazy. Like I want the $5 million so bad, but wanting it so bad makes it so much more nerve wracking. You know what I mean? Versus like if you're just there. Some people are there for different reasons, like for fun or for the experience. I was like, I'm there for the money, and so it was like I was so nervous going into that first challenge. But I was honestly blown away. Like the whole production, the whole set, everything is just like 10,000 times cooler in person to see all the lights, everything that goes into it. It was so awesome.
My feelings were a little bit more geared towards the challenge itself, because like I love memory games, but to me it wasn't anything that was like super competitive. And then at the same time, the realization hit me that like you had to work with people around you, because teams immediately started forming. And so that was really disappointing to me personally, because I wanted it, if I went out, I wanted it to be because of me, not because of anyone else. And so I felt frustrated, but it wasn't like I was intimidated by it. It was just like frustration. And especially after I saw the strong teams challenge, I was like that's all based off their individual skill. And it also happened to be something that I felt like I could have done. And so it was a little bit of disappointment at the first challenge. But then once you're in it, like all the adrenaline and like excitement hits you. And it was a whole different story at that point. But visually, when I saw it, I was a little bummed.
I think you definitely could have had people that could have swapped and done the other specific challenge. And then I also think there's certain people that couldn't have done the other one for sure.
That's me. I could have. Like, first of all, I'm actually terrified of heights, but going into Beast Games, I prepped for a couple months and I did like zip lining and all sorts of things to get I did this like treetop adventure course to get myself like kind of not really, you can't really just get over fear of heights that quickly, but to get myself comfortable with being uncomfortable. And that actually helped so much going into it. Like the platform up high didn't bother me at all during our challenge, even though we had the trap door that we were standing on. And it was like, you could see through this trap door down to the floor below, like 30 feet below. But if I had to do that other challenge, like actually climbing down the trapdoor hole, down the pole, like absolutely not. Absolutely not. But I actually loved our challenge because I love memory games and I love puzzles. I remember telling in the interview, like, I've got this. This is like a Friday night hanging out with a puzzle, But I was nervous at the same time just because it's such high stakes. But it was really fun. I actually did try to work with Philip at one point, number 69. Him and I were the only ones. Like for me, I was working by myself most of the time, and then with him half of the time, I guess. But actually, towards the end, I didn't tell him this till after, but I didn't tell him. But towards the end, I started getting worried because there were a few teams that got out because they were working together and then one person messes up and the whole team gets it wrong. That happened literally right behind me. This group of 4 people all got out. And so I was like, basically towards the end, I was just memorizing the whole thing myself and like checking his to see if I had it right. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. But I was hoping we would both make it through, but he did not make it through. And it was so disappointing. It was so, because actually also, at that very last challenge where they're like, whoever's light turns green, if your floor turns green, you're moving on to Beast City. And I'm like jumping for joy. I'm literally crying tears of joy because I'm so excited. And I turn around to like cheer with Philip and his is just red. And he looked so sad. And I was like, Philip, no, damn it. I don't know how that happened. But that last challenge was it was like 16 blocks. It's like so fast. You didn't really even have time to like look at someone else's, you know what I mean? You just had to go for it or else you probably wouldn't have gotten it.
Yeah, I think for me that last 16 count, if it weren't for my pattern recognition, I don't think that I would have gotten it. And mostly because my problem was the speed. Like I was terrified of dropping my blocks because my partner had dropped her blocks and then couldn't get them. And so for me personally, the speed aspect of like having to go get the blocks and then bring them over was what stopped me from moving forward at was it like 10 count when the 22 moved forward? And so I was intimidated by the speed, but thankfully I recognized the pattern right away and was able to be like, okay, I just need literally all of them, brought them over and was able to do it. But Yeah, I think, again, I wouldn't have been able to do it without the people that I was working with, which was Nicole and Michelle, 72 and 78. And I am so, so grateful for them. But again, at the same time, it was like upsetting to me personally because I wanted it to be like individual skill. Because I think a lot of people would have stayed if it would have been based on like individual merit, if that makes sense.
There were some people saying that, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. No, go for it.
There were some people, like, I think Chris behind me, or there were a few people that said that they were legitimately just doing it by themselves like the whole time. But it's easier when you have at least one person, because then you can back check each other, of course. Or if you mess up or you get too stressed out, drop your block, like you can just quickly glance over, see what it was, you know. But yeah, I think moving the blocks, I feel like every challenge had so many more layers to it, you know, like it's just so much going on, especially how the blocks are on one side of our podium and then the thing you had to stack your blocks on is on the other. And so if you dropped something, you're like losing a second or two, at least like fumbling with it. And wasn't there a rule like your block couldn't fall out of your box that you were standing in? I was terrified that I'm so clumsy in real life. I was so worried I was going to drop one and it would fly into oblivion and I would be out because of it. But I just remember too, that challenge, the one with the round of 22 people that made it forward, my hand was still on the blocks. I was trying to like steady it, but I wasn't thinking, I forgot that you had to have your hands, you couldn't be touching the stack at all or else you're out if they take the photo right at the time and your hand is on it. And so I knew, I was like, dang it, I didn't get it. My hand was on it. It was so disappointing. But and so the rest of the challenge, I was like, as soon as my blocks were stacked, I was literally doing this, like no hands, no touchy. Like my hands are not on it. You know, I was so worried. And also the more you mess with it, it's like you're just giving a risk of knocking it over, you know, or something clumsy happening. So yeah, it was scary. Yeah. Also, the 16 block was so tall that I don't know about you, but and I'm like kind of short. It was kind of wobbly. Like it's like taller than me, and I'm like trying to stack as high as I can. And they actually didn't they like offer us little step stools if you wanted? I don't think
I was going to add one of the variables to consider was actually your height, because for several people they accounted for it and brought in like blocks that they could stand on.
Yeah, I think they asked me, but I remember I just didn't want to deal with another element, you know, or like tripping over something in the way if I forget it's there, or I don't know, just another risk to add to it. So the like all the ones, I think it was like blocks 12 and higher were like actually taller than me. So it was kind of difficult, a balance challenge in a way.
Yeah.
That's a big impact. So, I mean, being able to having to adjust to that. But both of you make it through to the city. And so season 1 had a different city than season 2. It was very different. So how did y'all feel walking into it, seeing that it was not as similar as it was in season 1?
I was pretty happy about it. I think that this season's city was way crazier than season 1's. We had access to a lot more entertainment. And it's hard, right? Because you're going from living in the real world where there's like media entertainment to now we're actually having to entertain ourselves with like board games, going to the gym, there's pools, you know, you can just like dine and entertain yourself with like conversing with others, things like that. And so for me, it was really fun. I love board games and I love having like one-on-one time with people. So it was incredible. And I think that they did a great job as far as like accommodations as well. I think you've heard about the shower situation. That was, I think, as bad as it got for me personally, but like I go camping all the time. So to me, it was still like bougie camping. But yeah, I think that it was a great upgrade and it genuinely felt like being in a city. We even had our little own mall where we could go and request things and get things every day. And they would have new items every other day. So it was kind of exciting to be like, ooh, let's go see what the mall has today.
Yeah, going shopping. Hey, I'm going to the store. Anyone need anything? I actually love that. Yeah, I feel like the city was unbelievable. Like, honestly, especially being like so grateful to even be there in the first place, you know, just everything that was more than just mediocre was incredible, just so much better. You know what I mean? I don't know if I had any expectations going into the city. I just wanted to get to the city. You know what I mean? Because I had this fear, I think that everyone has, that you're just going to go and like get out in the first challenge and it would be so devastating. So I was so grateful to be in the city. And actually, do you remember when we came into the city for the first time? We were like children in Disneyland, just like running around. Like I remember I got on some bicycle that had a little basket in the front, and I'm like speeding around the pool as fast as I can on a bike. It's like I'm like a kid at Disneyland right now. And we're all screaming, and yeah, the city was so cool. It really was like, it felt like we were actually in another, like an actual city somewhere. I mean, it almost felt like we were left our lives and went into like a little video game or something. But yeah, the city was amazing. We had these 3 little pools. Our smart layer is what we called it. It was like a science lab and a library. We had hydroponics and puzzles, like you said, all the games and everything. It was awesome. I love the city. And even the living quarters, like our dorms were really fun too, because I keep saying it felt like we were at a sleepover, or like an actual adult summer camp or something. It's so, so fun. And such like sisterhood, like girlhood, just hanging out, like telling stories, talking. And it was kind of refreshing actually. You don't realize how addicted to like technology and your phone you are until you don't have it for a little while. And I don't know about most people, but like you usually do have your phone all day, every day, right? You don't really take a break from it. Unless you break your phone or something. So it was actually super refreshing to just hang out and make genuine connections and just have a genuinely good time, like reading a book again at night. Like, I don't know. I remember one night I read a book, like before I went to sleep, not the whole thing, just a chapter or something. And I was like, this is so refreshing. I actually really enjoyed being detached from my phone for a little while, like unplugged from the world. It was nice. It was also kind of scary at the same time, kind of weird, of course, but it was so refreshing. Like
Yeah,
a phone
I agree.
detox. Phone detox
Yeah.
is the word I'm looking for. Yeah.
I agree. And I think I would have loved to continue that in the real world, but even within the city, it was really hard because just like not knowing, I'm a mom, so not knowing like what my kids are up to, how they're doing, and yeah, just not being connected to like my family in the real world. But like if I could have my family in the city, no problem.
Yeah, I'm sure it's so much harder when you have kids too, that you're like just, hoping everything back home is all good, right? But of course, we had an emergency contact. It's not like, if something were to
Yeah.
happen, they would take care of, it would be taken care of. But still, yeah, it was, when I came back, actually, I kept saying, I'm going to do a weekend of phone detox or at least one day of phone detox, but I haven't. But I kind of want to, like a camping trip. Like you were mentioning camping, that would be so nice to just go on a camping trip and just keep the phone in the bag. Like just don't look at it. Just have a nice, wholesome weekend without it.
It's hard just because of how fast-paced life is. But then when you're in that own bubble that you're competing in, and let's talk about that, because the excitement of the city and all that is very short-lived because the gameplay started very quickly.
Yeah, honestly, it was immediate. Like, and I don't know about everyone else, but I feel like even going into it, I was in the mentality, like strategy was already happening for me before I was even there. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do whether that panned out or not, I don't know. But yeah, the strategy was definitely there. You could kind of feel it too, but not all the time. It definitely felt like a fun summer camp too sometimes.
Yeah, I think for me, it was really strange to go from having connections like when we were in the hotel and feeling like they were connections that were strong enough to withstand throughout the game to as soon as we entered the city, I felt like there was a lot of switch ups. And that was really hard for me to comprehend because it was like, what's different, But I think that what the city did was kind of because it separated us, right? So like smart people had their own dorms and then it was like male, female, and then strong people had their own dorms. I think because they separated us, whereas at the hotel, it was like just random. I think that had a huge influence on it. And then also like now you have access to a gym and a library, right? So you're spending time in different locations. And so I think that all of that impacted the like socializing that happened within the game, which again was a hard transition for me personally.
Yeah, mine was a tough transition too, because actually in challenge 1, the platform challenge, where we weren't in the city yet, we were staying in the hotel, like you mentioned. And during that challenge, I actually formed an alliance called the Dallas Stars. And it was like it was like 5 of us from Dallas that we were all like, we've got this. This is going to be so cool. We're going to be the best alliance there's ever seen. And none of them made it into the city with me. And so like going into the city, and I had made sort of other connections, but you girls, like the smart girlies, like I wasn't really close with anyone else, which was a problem, So I remember when I got to the city, it kind of felt like I moved schools or something. You know what I mean? Like, dang, everyone already has their friends now. And like, it's really, because this happened to me actually when we moved schools when I was little, like everyone already had their groups, you know, and you're kind of like trying to fit in like awkwardly. It almost felt like that at first. And I was really worried at first. But I remember one of my first interviews in the city, I was like, I'm waking up early tomorrow. I'm going to go talk to everybody. I'm going to shake everybody's hand. I just want to know everybody, you know, but it's not really that easy because, like I said, some people were really tight knit already from the beginning, that very first challenge. So, but
Yeah.
everyone was really nice though. Like it was easier. My other fear was I would go in just in general before leaving for Beast Games. I had this fear that I would go and just kind of be the outskirt, like just not make any friends or be awkward or something. But everyone was so nice. It was genuinely, it was pretty easy to just talk to everybody, honestly.
You definitely see the separation of the groups, and then that clock ticks all the way down, and you go into the portal, and out come 10 people with the briefcases, and you do not know what's behind the mask. What are you thinking before the reveal? Do you have any idea it's going to be players from season 1?
Oh my God, I had absolutely no idea. What a twist. I seriously, I don't even think I was thinking of the guards in the mask. You know what I mean? I was more so thinking about the money because he was saying $100,000 for free, you know, like basically just eliminate yourself. And I was like, what is the catch? There is a catch, right? Like that can't be, it can't be, you know what I mean? And then they take off the mask and I thought it was awesome. I loved season 1, like I said. And so I was excited for so many reasons because number one, I was like, well, that means they're going to be in the game with us. If someone takes the bribe, they're going to be playing with us. Like, it's going to be so cool to talk to them. And like I said, I was excited because I had connections at that point, but they weren't like super deep connections at that point, you know? Like I had a few groups and like our smart girlies, but like I said, the whole alliance I had from the beginning was gone. So in my mind, I was like, well, maybe I can use this, you know, like become friends with the OGs somehow or something. But I also had the same thought for them. I was like, they're going to struggle too, just like that. They're going to come in the city and not know anyone, and everyone already has their tight knit groups and alliances. So that's going to be really hard for them unless they all become an alliance like together, you know. But it was really cool. I was so excited to see that twist. I love a good twist.
Yeah, I had no idea as well. Like, I think I was just so locked in on like my game that I like saw the guards and I was like, they're just holding the money. Like, and so in my head, I was like, okay, well, 10 people are going to take the bribe, and that means that that's 10 less people that I have to deal with, right? And that was not it at all because he immediately was like, no, they're going to take your place. So in my head, I'm like, okay, well, my game is basically the same, if not harder, because they have the experience, they know what it takes to be in this competition. And I feel like because of their experience, maybe they know Jimmy's mind play a little bit better, so they could know kind of what to expect more so than we did. And they also are familiar with the pressure, right? Like for me, I never imagined I was going to be on TV, let alone reality TV. I don't think that I have the personality for it. And so one of my biggest concerns was like, how am I going to be perceived and how am I going to get along with everyone? Because I'm not super like social and like so yeah, I was just worried about like how I was going to be perceived by the other players and just in general. And I feel like because they have the confidence of having already gone through it once, they were going to be able to maneuver themselves into strong alliances, which were already formed, which means that it would be a stronger alliance. So in my head, all of this is playing out. I'm like, should I take the 100K because this is about to get a lot harder? My odds are going to be a lot worse. And in the end, I think that, you know, the challenge that followed kind of took a large majority of them out. So that problem was kind of taken care of. But in the moment, that's what I was thinking of.
Wait, I just want to add that I think you're perfect for reality TV. You're a beautiful soul. I know I said this like while we're there, you know, we had our Smart Girlies Alliance, especially towards the end, but yeah, and I don't think everyone on reality TV, I think there's this misconception that every single person on the cast is going to be this like boisterous, outgoing, but I think the best part of Beast Games was like everyone was just themselves and everyone is so different. It was so beautiful. I loved seeing it. And with the OGs, I guess to add to what you said about the OGs, like having experience as far as like no one knows what the challenges are going to be, but I was thinking the same about that. The thing about how like getting comfortable with being uncomfortable, like they've already been through that before. And I feel like that's a huge leg up versus like just going into the show, no idea like how to get, you know, what's going to happen. But they had some idea just because they've already been on the actual show before, even if the challenges are different. But I was a little confused how they were going to be in the theme because it was smart and strong. And I was thinking every challenge was going to be a smart and strong challenge. So I was like, how is that going to fit? Do they know what the theme is? Like, what team are they on? Are they on a team? But it turned out they were just on their own, like, OG team, I guess, right?
Part of me thought that they may, before we like learned much when they took their masks off, I was like, oh, they're going to be some kind of like spies or working against us in the game. Like, just thinking of every possible like possibility of how they would infiltrate the game. But it turned out to be, like I said, just them joining the game. So
yeah, they just kind of like blended right in, didn't they? And like did the challenges with us and everything. Almost like they had the level playing field as us, except they didn't have to do challenge 1, of course. But
yeah. One thing that did throw me really off though, because I have difficulty with like switch ups, and one thing that threw me off was how when we saw them, like almost everyone in unison was like, we have to take them out. Like the first opportunity we have, we're going to take them out. They're OGs. Like we're tight knit. We're going to keep us here and get them out. Right. And then you get to the city, they get to the city, and it's like a complete switch up. And like Johnny, for example, choosing OGs like first right off the bat for the next challenge of blocks was shocking to me. Or like, you know, one of the power alliances right off the bat wanting like to be all buddy with Jeff after they themselves had been like, oh, we're going to target them, like they're done. It was like, what is happening? Like, again, they're OGs. First of all, Jeff has already won. Why are we giving him an even bigger opportunity to win again? So that was really hard for me. But I think that, again, Johnny picking so many OGs as he did take out the majority of them. So maybe it was all for the best.
Oh yeah, that's true. I actually feel like with the blocks challenge that they picked, well, like I said, I was one of those that kind of wanted to work with them. You know what I mean? I was like, maybe I could use this to my advantage. And you know how we were in that big white room for challenge 2, and Jimmy had us pick which of the 4 challenges we were going to do. And I go over to blocks, and I went like straight across the room to blocks, and Tawana was already over there. And I remember I said to Tawana, I was like, hey, do you want to like we could like work together in blocks? I mean, I don't know what it's going to be, but if we can work together. And then she picked blocks. And the next thing I know, all the OGs picked blocks. And I was like, did I just get all the OGs to pick blocks? Like in my head, I was like, am I delusional, or are they all going to work with me? You know what I mean? But then it didn't matter because it was a team pick thing anyway. But I was like, oh my God, what is about to happen? This is crazy. But I wanted to. You're right about the switch up though. I heard everybody was like, oh, they can't have it. They already had their chance, you know, not again, which I totally get. But I kind of had the opposite thought. I was like, if someone's in the game that already won before and they're on a team with me, and let's say there's like a vote or something, I feel like there'd be a better chance of someone new getting whatever it is versus like someone that's already won before. You know what I mean? So I was kind of thinking along those lines, but not that like I said, we didn't know if there'd be votes or anything. I had no idea. But yeah, it was crazy that Johnny picked them all, or not crazy, but it was interesting that Johnny picked like pretty much all the OGs right away. I couldn't wait to hear the commentary when it comes out, because I was like, what was his thought process there? Like, I don't know. That's so crazy.
You know what's funny? Speaking of the commentary, I reached out to Johnny and I was like, listen, I'm just going to apologize in advance because I said a lot of things that night because I was so frustrated, because to me, it was like our smart team, like the majority of smart team went into blocks, right? And so he has the opportunity to pick a lot of our brilliant minds and hopefully keep them safe, but he chose to choose OGs first, and like one after the other. When we were, you know, there was that point where everyone thought that we needed teams of 10 and everyone was strategizing, trying to get like the smartest and the strongest. And so like I witnessed Johnny like talk to, again, some of the most brilliant minds in our smart team. And to me, I was like, oh, he already made kind of like an alliance with them, so he's going to pick them first because they were up for grabs. And when he chose to go with OGs instead of them, to me, it was like, what is happening here? Like, this doesn't add up. And so, I mean, I talk to him now and like his decision making makes sense. It's all about perspective, right? But in the moment, I was so mad and I let him have it on camera. So I was like, I hope none of this airs. And it didn't. We're good.
Yeah. It's funny the moments you have that, like, after when you come home. I remember you like lay awake in bed. Sometimes you like sit up and you're like, wait, what did I say in this one? Like, I hope they don't think that I'm gonna sound so mean or whatever, you know. But yeah, I thought that was interesting with Johnny too, because I was like, wait, I wonder how his like alliance feels about that, you know, or if
Yeah.
they maybe had some sort of strategy we weren't aware of. I don't know. But yeah, that was really interesting. It makes sense what he said though about, as far as I know, it sounds like he just wanted, because they have that experience and working under pressure on Beast Games before. So I mean that does make sense.
Right.
As long
Yeah.
as it doesn't hurt your alliance members to not get picked, because you know schoolyard pick is not always fun, right? You know, even us, the rest of us on the smart team, we were kind of like towards the end, and I was like, dang, watch me get picked last, you know. But here we go. Wait, do you remember actually I stood forward at one point and I like pled my case. They don't have time to show everything in the challenges, but I actually stepped forward out of the crowd and I was like, you should pick me for your team. I've got a super high IQ. I've taken structural analysis classes. I'm a civil engineer. I know what it takes to build a strong structure. And then Corey picked me right after that. And I was like, yes, okay, I'm not
I
last,
didn't.
but it's because I had to literally step forward somehow. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I didn't catch that. But to me, that was
Yeah.
like frustrating too. Again, like the strong versus smart theme kind of makes it to where we do kind of go back to that high school mentality, right? Of like
Yeah.
jocks versus nerds. And it was hard to see like my smarties be picked last because I knew you guys, right? And I knew that like a bunch of you were engineers and brilliant. And so I was like, I don't know how you think you're going to build a tower that's structurally sound without the smarts down below to plan accordingly, because you can't do like, sure, you have the muscle to pull all these blocks up, but not all of them make sense to stack. And so like that part was frustrating to me because again, it was all just like, okay, let's get the OGs and strong members first. And I get that like they were the minority, but I would want to secure Einstein before someone who's just going to stand around, right? Because not every strong person is going to be climbing up there. It's one person climbing up. So that was my thoughts on it. But I was like, you know, I'm already safe. I'm going to sit here and watch. So y'all take care of it.
Yeah. That must have been so interesting to watch, except it was really long. Weren't we there for like, I don't even know, 6, 8 hours? Honestly, I don't know how long the sun came up.
It had to have been like 10 hours, Trina. Like I got Starbucks
Right? I don't
3
know.
different times to try to stay up and like stay actively engaged.
Yeah, that's a long time to watch. But I had the same thought actually. I had a couple thoughts though when I wasn't getting picked, because going in, my strategy, even though I knew the theme of Beast Games is strong versus smart, so they're going to showcase that we're smart. There's no hiding it. You know what I mean? We're on the smart team. But I had this strategy that I was like, I'm going to downplay it. Like, I'm here for fun, having a good time. Hee hee, ha ha. You know, like not to be a threat, basically. I wanted to be a low threat to everyone. And so when I didn't get picked, maybe it was just delusion, but I was like, oh, this is good. My strategy is working. I'm not a threat, you know? But in hindsight though, like, I guess not to go on a tangent, but about my strategy. But in hindsight now, I'm like, dang, maybe I should have done the opposite, go in strong, like telling everyone how smart I am. Because, you know, the smart or the strong team was kind of like that. Like, that's kind of more so their personality type to just, you know, look at me, look how strong I am, like in a good way, you know, confident. So I wonder if that might have worked out better for me because, yeah, I thought the same thing. And I think the team picking was the showcase of that. Like, dang, I'm not getting picked. I have a really high IQ. I have all the credentials, right? You know, you can have all the credentials in the world, but still not sell it, you know, and that's kind of how it felt. But because, yeah, that challenge was the perfect combination of strong and smart together. Yeah, I know on paper it might just look like a strong challenge lifting the big heavy pieces up, but it was like building a puzzle because every single block we had was a different size and shape. We had like arches, rectangles, squares, different size squares, circles, semicircles, like pieces were big and as small as this, the smallest piece was like this big. And then as you can see, the biggest piece was like gigantic. So it was literally like building a puzzle and figuring it out. So I think the best, I mean, I feel like our team did have the best of both worlds. We had strong and smart team working on the ground, building our puzzle. We were like figuring out the pieces and lining them up in the sand in exact order that we wanted to put them up in, you know, and then the strong team hoisting them up. But, and the cool thing was actually, I ended up being the design team lead is what I called it. I thought of it like an engineering project. When we first got started, we all got in a huddle and I was like, okay, I'm going to be the design lead. I'm going to take the reins on designing the puzzle, you know, and I called it like, we basically had a different role for everybody that we came up with. So we had the design team, which was myself, and then a few other people that were like engineers or Sophie, like the lawyer, you know, and then we had a ropes and knots team, which was Corey and Sue. They were tying the pieces on the rope and then sending them up. We had the runners. They were running to go get the big pieces out of the sand. That was like the strong team people. And then, of course, we had the climbers, Colby and Mitch. So I feel like the best part about our team was it was such an amazing team effort. Like everyone was really putting in the work. I will say at one point, though, I was so excited to be the leader and I'm leading it. But at first, it was absolute chaos, just chaos. You could have put like circus music or something to us at the beginning. We're all running around like a chicken with our head cut off. Like everyone's coming up to me like, Trina, what about this? Trina, I know we'll do this with the pieces. What about this piece? And they're like bringing stuff over. I'm like, I can't even think right now. And the other problem was that my voice went hoarse. Like maybe a couple hours into it, I had no voice at all. And so you almost can't even lead when your voice is gone, So I'm like trying my hardest to communicate. But we definitely had a turning point in the middle though, where I think it was after our tower just totally fell over for a second time. And we were like, okay, we have to regroup. What can we do? And I feel like we all just locked in and like really focused on getting those pieces of the puzzle, like pieces that are the same level, same height, and like sending them up. But yeah, it was absolute chaos at first. A cool experience though. But the fact that it was so chaotic and so crazy and so hard made it the reward so much sweeter. Like when we did win it, you know what I mean? It makes it taste so much better when it was a struggle. And at no point did I know for sure if we had it, because it was like neck and neck pretty much the whole entire time with Johnny's team.
Y'all had a really balanced team. And then obviously when you finally do win, that relief sets in. And I want to circle back and also say it's very interesting how people's mindsets are when they see returning players come into the game, because other people gravitate and go, I want to go with them because they have the experience. But then others are saying, no, they've already done it before. I want to stay completely away from them and stick with my group. And so that's just like the mindset of what is going to help me progress in the game. But at the same time, I want to stick with my OG people that I already have something with.
Yeah, I think that, people sticking with their groups, I think the fear is that if you do bring someone in and they're not trustworthy because you don't know them, in your group, you already have so much trust built, it's hard to bring someone new in and hope that they're going to have your back, especially in OG. Like, I feel like the other thing about the OGs is it's kind of like, well, what are they here for? Like, what are they going to do? Like, they've already been here before. Some of them won money. What's their goal? What's the purpose of being here? Because my thing, I really liked hearing strategically, like, what are you here for? Like, what's your, what would you do with the money? And like, some people would give you an answer and you're like, I don't know if that's true or not. But some people you could tell legitimately, like, they're there for the money. And like, you could kind of hear it in people's voice, what they're there for, and kind of take that, like, okay, I need to watch out for this person, like maybe they would take a bribe. But yeah, I feel like with the OGs, that would be kind of difficult to read and see what they're up to. Or what their goal is, I mean.
Yeah. I think, again, I was in the mentality of I wanted them gone.
Yes.
I had a really rough start socially because, again, there was a switch up when we got to the city. And then I still had, contestants who I was really close to. However, after the blocks challenge, like, everyone that I had, like, an alliance with was, like, wiped out. And so for me, going back to the city with some OG people was like, all right, well, I kind of have to rethink my strategy. And one thing about me is that I am not a beggar. So I was not about to go back to the alliance that I thought I had after the hotels, if that makes any sense. And so I was like, all right, like, clean slate. I'm just going to talk to people, just to get to know them. And then if anything flourishes, like, it was meant to be. And I think that the only people that I had that with at first was the smart girls, obviously, because we shared a dorm and it really was like a sleepover. But outside of that, it actually happened to be OGs. So like, I got close with Mia and I got close to JC. I talked to Jeff. I wouldn't say that we got close, but like, I obviously really respected him from season 1. And so it was just nice to be able to connect with him in person. So that was like a highlight of my experience. But yeah, to be close to like Mia and JC, especially with like how they were perceived from season 1, was kind of wild for me. But I think that like they came in with the same mentality that they did season 1. And so for me, it was like, oh, okay, their reasons are still the same. Like, I think that Mia obviously was not so much there for the money anymore, as much as this was just like another achievement for her. And so I was like, okay, she's a competitor. And at the very least, I know that she's loyal to whoever she's with. And so for me, loyalty is everything. And so I really like that. And I think that's why I was okay I didn't have an alliance with her or anything, but again, I was close to her, and so I think that's why I was okay with like maybe forming an alliance with her had I made it further in the game. But yeah, so again, my game was constantly like changing and evolving, and I never ever thought that OGs would be a part of that. So yeah, I got to know them a little bit, and I think again, recognizing that like most of them had the same mentality from season 1, and that was pretty cool.
Plans change, you know, that's the thing. You have to adapt as the game progresses. Can you touch on the one that you selected? You did balance, and why you decided to choose that one to move forward.
Yes, so I was absolutely traumatized by blocks, so there was no way that I was going to choose blocks again. Balls, I have never in my life done any kind of sports or anything athletic, so that was out. Bluff, I am a terrible liar, and I get really nervous and giggly, so that was also out. And balance, this is super cringe, but like the heart and like just the balance really spoke to me. And Asia talked about it a little bit. Like I was really, really hesitant again because all of my close friends went to blocks like almost immediately. And I was like, I can't. Something in me is just telling me that this is not for me. And again, I really value individual skill. So I think I honestly saved my life by going into the balance challenge. But I waited until the very last second just to see if there was any kind of inclination that I should go elsewhere. And there just wasn't. Even when the strong people were doing like their calisthenics and handstands and all these things to try to deter us from going there, I was like, no, this is still it for me. And so I ended up picking it, and I'm very happy that I did so.
Yeah, I think for me, the thought of like even I guess balance was the other one I might have thought I considered doing like in my head, but then I was thinking there's too high of a risk of that being something sport related, like gym balancing, you know, and you know, you see the strong team going somewhere, and yeah, I was like, I don't know if that's worth the risk. What if or balls was I literally thought dodgeballs or you know something basketball dodgeball like whatever it's going to be, that's not going to be good for me. So the same process, but the balance, the heart, I actually had the same thought. The heart is so cute. Like, I wonder what that is. And it's so funny that everything ended up being exactly like the picture. You know what I mean? The little stuff I did not expect. I was like, even blocks, I had no idea what to expect. But yeah, it's so funny. It was literally right there.
Yeah.
Here it is.
I also like, even if it was calisthenics based, I thought it would be more like Survivor or challenge based. So I grew up watching both shows and was like a mega fan, still am. And I knew that when it came to any kind of like balance, I could most likely do it as long as it wasn't a handstand, right? So I was like, if I have to stand on a pole for hours, like I know that I have like a really good drive and motivation, so I can do it. And I also have really good balance. So I think I can take out at least one of the strong players, right? And so I think that also kind of went through my mind of like, okay, whether it's balance or like actually like the balance that we saw in the picture, I think I can do it. And I honestly, being the first one out was all the motivation that I needed at that point, because again, I had lost a big part of what I thought was my alliance. And so being able to redeem myself on something that was on my own like skill was really rewarding. I will say, I think that respectfully, production missed a big opportunity to highlight how they included intelligence into the challenges, because a lot of the commentary that I've seen is that like a lot of the challenges were strong based, and they weren't. They included like a certain level of like cognitive skill, but it just wasn't highlighted in the editing process, if that makes sense. Because even when I was the very first one to go out and I was a smart player, they didn't highlight that at all. And I felt like, again, that was a point where they could have shown that like intelligence does play a role in like the games.
You know, I think that kind of goes along what happens in real life, you know, like intelligence or, you know, how smart you are. Something, it's really like a hidden skill. Like it's not in your face. Like even for me, I designed highways. Everyone just drives on the highways. You don't think about who designed it, who built it. You know, it's almost like being smart has this like unspoken hidden factor to it. You know what I mean? Not that we
Yeah.
want praise, or we're not the type either to need, like, I need praise, praise me now, thank me. But no, we don't need that. But it's just, it's kind of funny that that's how kind of it is in real life, and sort of happens in the game too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think the only reason why I wanted to highlight that was like the theme is literally smart versus strong. And so being able to showcase that like you do have some of the best competitors who are smart and who are strong. Because even I feel like even within the block challenge, like they really only highlighted the work that the strong players up on the towers did, and they didn't really showcase like, the leadership skills or the planning that you were doing down below, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, there's one quick clip. They show Mr. Beast interviewing me because he was trying to come over interviewing me a couple times. And in that moment, they just show us talking and then we turn around. They don't show like what we're talking about. But I remember in that moment, he came up to me and he was like, Trina, why is no one on the team listening to you? I was like, what? Are they not listening to me? Like, it was so chaotic. It might be because it was so chaotic. I don't know. I have no idea. It was such a, it's funny because it was 10 hours long or whatever, but it was such a blur at the same time because it was like nonstop crazy, like go, go, go. Just so much jam packed in there.
Yeah. I mean, within the balance challenge, like I literally went out round 6. So I was the very first one to go out, and I went out round 6. And that's another thing that they didn't highlight. Like I went out pretty quickly versus like everyone else didn't go out until like round 10 and then moving forward. And so, and even then, like I remember being stuck in the room waiting for hours and being like, how is this taking so long? And yeah, again, it was like within the challenge, I was being interviewed for like the behind the scenes, and they asked me like what strategies I used, and I blatantly was like, you know what, I used like psychology because that's my like educational background. I knew that like the rocks that I put closer to her were the rocks she was more likely to grab. And so that was like my first strategy. My second strategy was like, you know what, I do go to the gym and I use 5-pound weights. So I can tell you like about how much something weighs, if it's below 5 pounds or above 5 pounds. And then also I had like my daughter at the time was 24 pounds. And so when I lifted the heart, it was around that like weight. And so there were like all of these factors that I used to be able to like beat her pretty quickly. And like none of that was highlighted. And so it made it seem like it was just a game of chance. And it really wasn't. Like you had to understand physics and know that like the closer you place the rocks to the actual center of the balance, the better. But if you look at a lot of the strong players, they were like placing it like right on the center of their like little podium. So yeah, that part to me was like frustrating because I was like, you could have highlighted the smart aspects. But I was just happy to move forward. So I was like, whatever.
I wish we could have seen you guys do your challenge. You know how you guys, I know ours was in the city, so there was literally like bleachers or whatever for you guys to sit on, but I wish we could have seen you guys.
It was so quiet. Like literally when the heart shattered, it was so loud. It was crazy cool.
Really? Was it just like super quiet in there because of the tension, I guess? Pressure?
Yes, yeah. Literally no one was making a sound. When we walked, we literally would like tiptoe so that it wouldn't impact the balance. Yeah, when Mr. Beast would like walk around, we literally did not want him coming anywhere near us because that would mean like the camera and all of the crew coming up. Yeah, it was really tense in there.
That's so
you could tell as a viewer when I was watching it, I said, oh my goodness, just seeing everyone, how quiet and precise everyone was trying to be with how they were setting the rocks and all of that. And I want to highlight too, that competition, I feel alone, fate couldn't be even more in your hands because you are deciding specifically where you want to place those rocks, what you want to do. And with the other challenges in particular, you could have gone out. I mean, bluff, people were fine going out and chance, which that game too, I don't even know how you would play it any different because if you target someone and they're going to target you from a different alliance. So I just think the setup alone of that one was just difficult in itself.
Yeah, bluff really scared me. That's the one I knew for sure I'm not doing. Besides, I guess dodgeball or balls and then bluff. Because bluff, I was like, that means you either have to be really good at lying to people. And if you get through that, that means now everyone that's made it through with you knows that you're a good liar. And that's not going to be good for a game like these games, probably. Or I guess I was thinking, I don't know, just bluff. Yeah, or you'd have to be okay with lying to people, unless that would just be so hard. I don't know. And everyone was pretty close knit at that point that seemed to be in that game, except for the OGs. So yeah, that's a tough one. I was thinking what would have been interesting when I was watching it back, I was like, it would have been cool if there was some sort of like incentive to lie, like bribes or something. I wonder if that would have made a difference. You know what I mean? Like take some money to lie, and that might have convinced people to start lying to each other. I don't know.
Yeah,
That
no,
was a
that's
hard one.
yeah, that was a really good point though that you brought up, that like if someone did excel at bluffing, like they're now coming into the city with
Mhm.
like several people knowing that they're really good at lying, and I think that would have impacted their social game.
I was definitely, that was my first thought, because also in the city, that we had all these board games, and well, no, it wasn't a board game. So everyone was sitting around like at night, in these big groups playing that one game where you have to lie to each other. Do you know what I'm talking about? What was that
Mafia.
called?
You guys were playing Mafia. I heard
Yes.
about this and I said, why in the world would you play
Mhm.
Mafia? Because that is the
Yes.
game where you show that you can lie to people. And
Mhm.
you both know reality TV in the sense of Survivor. That led to someone's elimination in the Survivor game because one night they said, let's play Mafia. Why in the world would you think that's a good idea?
Yeah, it's genius for the one that thought of it. Like, hey, let's play this game where now I can see, and so a lot of people just played just to ignore it.
But then play bad. That's the thing. That's the
Yes,
strategy behind it. Agree
exactly.
to it and then play
Yes.
terrible.
I only played one time. I refused to play pretty much every time. I'd pretend like I'm busy or go do something else or literally walk away and pretend, because I was like, I'm not going to show my cards. But the one time I did play, I got lucky because I was like a civilian or something where you had no role, you know what I mean? But I was thinking, even if I did get one of the roles that requires lying, I'm going to just be, oh, I'm such a horrible liar. You know what I mean? Just because like you just don't want to risk that in a game about strategy, an alliance. Yeah, just no.
I never played it, and it was because I'm a really bad liar. I was like, I'm not about to embarrass myself in front of you. But I heard a lot about it, and I think a lot of connections happened over it. So I think it was a little bit of a missed social opportunity, though. I will say that.
Yeah, it was definitely because it was these big group, like huge groups of people playing it for hours on end. So it was kind of like, dang, I'm kind of leaving myself. I think that's the only reason why I played the one time I did, because I was like, dang, I should really at least go sit in there, And I think there was a couple times I just would walk by and like watch it, and just not be a part of it. But yeah, it was fun to watch. There was someone, I'm not gonna say who it was, but there was someone that won because they were such a good liar, and she was on my radar after that. I was like, dang, like she didn't make it that much farther than we did anyway. But I was like, oof, like I don't know about that. That's scary.
It's a balancing act because, as you did say, if you don't participate, that's where people are bonding. But if you do participate, you could show your cards right there and it could tank your entire game.
Exactly, not worth the risk. I feel like throughout the whole series, the whole season, it was like risk assessment, risk management. This is too risky. I shouldn't do that. I guess that's what the smart team, we think a lot like that.
I was gonna say we just overanalyze literally everything.
Yeah, that's exactly. I'm sitting here analyzing. Yeah, exactly. So true.
I really want to hit this one because you both wanted to come on together because you were on the same team for the obstacle course. How did the team form? And then we also saw the drama unfold when the selection was made on who y'all wanted to face against.
Yeah. So Sydney was like one of my day ones from the hotel, and there was no switch up there. And so all along I knew that if there was ever a team challenge, I would more than likely be with Sydney. I knew that I likely wasn't her number one, but in the obstacle course, it just so happened that like I thought that I had the skill, and so I went up to her and I was like, I think we should do this together. And she was like, absolutely. And the way that groupings were happening, we needed another smart player. And so I was like, okay, I think this is my opportunity to like find, again, I had my group of girlies, but because I knew Trina's IQ, I was like, I think this is my opportunity to make a strong gameplay and go seek her out, because I didn't talk about it at all in the city, because I took the kind of approach that Trina described of like not talking about my intelligence at all. When I introduced myself, I would just be like, oh, I'm just a speech therapist, like mama, that's it. But I had a higher IQ on the team. And so I was like, I think a really good gameplay would be to go get Miss Einstein and form like this power team, right? Because we had incredible strength. And honestly, I think at the beginning of it, we weren't even planning on having an all-girls team, but it just so happened that like we felt that the players that had the skills that we wanted were also women. And so went and found Trina and somehow finessed my way into getting her on the team. And again, we had incredibly powerful and strong women physically. And then I think that Trina and I brought the intelligence and ability to kind of analyze like whatever came our way at the time. Did we know that it was the obstacle course at the time for sure? I think
No,
they
I
just
was about to say no, I was about to say that actually went into the decision making because I thought for sure it was going to be a bribe. We didn't have that many bribes at this point, just the
Yeah.
100K bribe and no other. We didn't have any bribes yet that were like eliminate your team and stuff like that. And do you remember Jimmy? I swear he like said to us before we picked our team something about pick a team you trust, make sure you trust them.
Yeah.
And so in my mind, I went full time. It kind of a mistakenly went full tunnel vision. This is gonna be a bribe. I need to pick my girlies, like someone I trust. So yeah, we didn't know, at least I didn't know it was going to be an obstacle course. And even when we kind of heard word that it's an obstacle course and you could literally see it in the distance, the colors from it and stuff, even then I was like, okay, well, there's going to be like a puzzle at the end. Do you remember? I don't know if you remember, but I was convinced there was going to be a smart element to it, like
Yes,
strong and smart together. So I was like, this is going to end up where, yeah, like maybe I guess I thought it was going to be obstacle course with a puzzle at the end, but I guess I watch a lot of Survivor and they do that, physical and then a puzzle. And then I thought maybe Jimmy was going to or Mr. Beast was going to try to bribe us. Maybe like you can take a bribe and eliminate your team, or you can do the obstacle course. That was my thinking. Because for me, I actually went right up to Corey at first, Corey and Brett. And because it was kind of there were a few of us that were sort of like really unsure, like, like who do I team up with? But for some reason that like I don't know, I just didn't feel right because I was like, well, what if it's a bribe? Like, I don't know about that. And so then I found like our girlies team was just and on paper, we were like such a strong team, like such high intellect between the two of us, and then Sydney, Ashley, Nikki, just like absolute beasts, like so strong. So yeah, and we had our team name. What was it? The Bad Boss Baddies? Or no, what was it? The BBB.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wish they showed that. The BBB. We like had a whole thing. It was amazing. It was such girlhood, which was amazing and so wholesome.
Yeah. Well, speaking of like other alternatives that like we considered, at one point, Strongman Tyler came up to me and asked me if I'd be on their team which was with Ian. And like, I remember after we were eliminated and like realizing that they had moved on, thinking, oh my gosh, like that was like a big mistake. Like I should have known the obstacle course came up as a possibility. Ian is American Ninja Warrior. Like I could have possibly moved forward. And then when the episode was released and I saw that they didn't even give an opportunity to their smart players to go across, I was like so grateful. Like I was like, I don't care that I went out with a team that respected me enough to allow me to like run, even if it meant like eliminating them. And so like that's what is crazy to me, because I was haunted by this like what if possibility. And it's like, no, you would have just been eliminated and not even had an opportunity to compete. So I think that was a cool realization once the episode was actually released, because again, I'm very proud of having been eliminated surrounded by these like badass women who are extremely inspiring to me versus what could have been at that point.
Yeah, I was going to say, I totally relate. I laid in bed, like just like literally awake at night, sometimes just haunted, like, what if I'd gone with Corey and Brett? But it felt like strange to even think that because I love our girly team so much.
Mm-hmm.
Like, well, like you said, we couldn't have gone out with them. Like, just such an amazing group of girls. But I had the same thought, like, what if I had just gone right with Corey and Brett? Like my gut kind of at first went that direction. But then when you think about it, every team would have been mixed up and so different. So who knows what would have happened? You just have no idea. Like maybe if I was on that team with Corey and then everyone else was mixed up, maybe we still would have lost either way. And then I would lose and not be on this amazing BVB team with my girls, So yeah, but it's really, I think everyone's haunted if you get eliminated, you get haunted by the what ifs, the what could have been. Like I should have, could have, should have. Like it haunts you.
Well, even if you separate one singular person, you mix and match the teams, even that aspect of it alone, then if the face-off occurs, you might not pick that specific team just because that one singular person is now on it. And then you're also then competing potentially a different matchup in a different game of the obstacle course.
Exactly. Everything would have been so different. There's no way to even theorize or predict, you know what I mean? So Even the obstacle course, it turned out to just be an obstacle course. Okay, didn't know that. I just kept expecting things to be like way more intense. I mean, it was intense. Don't get me wrong. That's not the right word. I expected it to be more intricate than, oh, it is just an obstacle course. We could do this, you know?
Yeah. No, personally, I think it was a huge missed opportunity to showcase intelligence because it was highly geared towards the strong team. Like it's an obstacle course, right? Many of them were American Ninja Warriors. And so I think that had they added the element of like a puzzle or just problem solving, any kind of problem solving, they could have highlighted smart contestants and what they had to offer. Also, way more drama, but
Yeah. I had the thought the other day, I was like, what if instead of just an obstacle course, like physical more so, what if it was just a big puzzle or just a puzzle, you know? And it could have been like, I mean, I'm a little biased. I love puzzles. So I'm always going to say I want it to be a puzzle. But yeah.
Yeah. The whole season hasn't been released, obviously. But I hope that at some point there is at least one challenge that is just intelligence based or like problem solving based so that it's at least a little balanced on what the competitions were.
Definitely. And I hear y'all when you're saying that because you can do the obstacle course, but maybe have a slide puzzle at the end of it to just complete it all.
Yeah, that I really was. I still wasn't convinced that was not there until we physically saw the whole thing and he explained it to us. I was still in my mind, just dead set tunnel vision. Like there's gonna be something at the end, or a bribe, or a puzzle, you know, something. But yeah, that would have been really cool to do some sort of well. I mean, I guess our first challenge, the block stacking memory. Not that that's a puzzle, but at least that hit, you know, the whole smart team challenge thing on our own.
What was both of y'all's favorite part about the experience? Because you, as you said, you have watched other competition shows, and then you get on this finally, and you get to live what I call, you know, a life-changing experience, in my opinion, because you are going into that bubble and you can't contact or hear from anybody else, and you meet so many people that you maybe wouldn't have met outside of it.
I think for me, oh, sorry, go ahead, Gloria.
No, you go, Trina.
Oh, I was just going to preface this by saying I literally had the best experience ever. It was just so cool. Even while I was there, I was literally on every interview like, this is just so cool. Like, I can't believe I'm here. This is amazing. But the best part about this experience that no one else could ever experience is that to be on Team Smart or Team Strong, you're surrounded by 199 people that are the most accomplished people I've ever heard of. Like everyone is so accomplished and driven, motivated. People own their own businesses, their own gyms. It's just in the smart team's credentials, like someone has Jessica has 8 degrees. Like it's so unbelievably cool to be surrounded by such highly driven, motivated people. And even in the city, it was so cool to hear everyone's stories and what everyone's up to. And a lot of people were not just up to their career, you know, they're up to other things. They own a business too, or they own a gym. And it was so inspirational that afterward I came home and I was like, it's motivated me now to pick up the speed and start working towards my mission and my goals, you know, like more so. Really cool.
Yeah, I 100% agree. So I spoke a little bit about it, but coming onto the show, like I was really in my head about I don't have the personality of someone who is on TV, right? Like I didn't know how I would fit into the bigger picture of the competition, but I knew that I was really competitive. I've been really competitive my entire life. And even though I haven't had the opportunity to apply that to sports or athletics, I've done it in my career, my education, and like I've succeeded in all of those aspects of life. And so I knew that I had the drive and I knew that I had like the competitive edge to do well. But again, I've never had to demonstrate that. And so for me, like Trina said, I got there and there were quite literally people who had been to the Olympics. There were college athletes. There were American Ninja Warriors, just like these incredibly talented people. And like lawyers, doctors, scientists, engineers, like careers that like we talk about like being impossible to get to, right? Like really difficult educational paths. And so it was really empowering. And to me specifically, Mr. Beast, in several of his videos, he talks about that, like, you're only as good as the people that you surround yourself by. And that's why he surrounds himself by like brilliant minds. And so being there, like, I felt that. And the more competitive they got, the more competitive I got. And the more I heard about their achievements, I was like, man, I'm not doing enough. Like, I need to go and do more. And so there was that thought, but also like within the competition, it made me feel so much more proud of myself, even though I was eliminated, because up until the end, like, I held my own and like I was not beat by a single one of them. And so I am taking that mentality and applying it to my everyday life. And I feel like now I'm much more likely to apply it to like other shows or other opportunities that would involve like media, because I'm like, you know what, like, I might not have this like big personality like Jim does, but I had this big ability to shut Jim up even for at least 5 minutes. So it really has been life-changing in more than one way.
That was just the coolest moment that is going to live rent free in my head forever. Like, you just flew across I could not even believe how fast you went across the obstacle course. It was incredible.
It was so good.
And do you remember
Gloria? You'll remember that forever too, because
yes,
you're never going to forget it.
And Gloria, I even remember I felt so bad. I remember I had this moment right before you went when we were deciding who's gonna, because we got to pick who goes next. And I remember in my head was like, maybe Nikki goes, or the Sydney strong, or no, Nikki because of strong team, and then you were like, no, I've got this. And I could see it in your eye. I was like, she's got this. No, really. It was like the look in your eye, and then you absolutely killed it across the obstacle course. It was so cool to see.
I wish there was so much commentary there that I wish they would have shown, because yeah, Nikki was supposed to go next, and because we agreed that like all the strong players were going to go first and then we would go, but there was just like something in me that was like, I have to go. And it wasn't from the perspective that like I just wanted to go. It was like, I feel like this is something that I can do, again, because I am pretty confident in my balance. And like I grew up watching Wipeout, and like my whole life thought I could do it. And so I was like, I feel like I can do it. I really do. And so that was the round that like our lives were on the line, right? And so I turned to them and I remember telling them like, it's up to you, because if I go and I mess up, like, obviously I'm eliminating you. So it is absolutely up to you guys, but I really feel like I should go. And I wish they would have just aired that, because I don't think that Jim expected that for me, of all the girls to be going, because like A, Nikki who's strong, and B, Trina is like super fit and looks very athletic, and I like respectfully am a mom, so like I probably in my mind, like on paper, I'd be like probably have the mom go last. I don't know. And so yeah, I was very grateful that they gave me the opportunity to go next. And then there was like other commentary that I made, like, because Jim was just blabbering off and like actually laughing and giggling about going up against me. And I remember at one point I just like looked forward and Jimmy was talking to me, and I was like, he doesn't even know he's about to go against Mama Bear. And it felt like cringe, but I feel like that would have been so much more rewarding than what they did play at the time, because again, in my mind, all that I was thinking about was my kids and making them proud. And if I was going to be eliminated, just leaving everything on the line so that they knew that like they can do anything.
I bet your kids loved watching that moment. Did they get to see your moment? What did they think of it?
So Kenan didn't really care, but it's really, really hard to impress Kenan. That's my son. And so I'm just going to have to keep going harder and bigger to get that wow from him. So my daughter, she was like, my mom talked to Mr. Beast, and she doesn't even know who Mr. Beast is. She's literally 2. And I was like, oh yeah. And then she came home from school one day and she was like, oh, my friend Maite told me that you talked to Mr. Beast. And I was like, wow, I've made it to the preschool. I'm making it big, guys. You don't understand.
That's cool. But yeah, you're like, I'm the cool mom now. Yes.
Yeah, preschool.
I love it. I'm happy that you stepped up and you did it, because you get to have that moment. And I just know it was so rewarding beating him.
Oh yeah. My you can't see me. You can't see you can't see me will live on forever.
Well, Trina, Gloria, it was such a pleasure having both of you on this podcast. Is there anything else you want to touch on before we wrap up?
You go ahead.
Just the overwhelming gratitude for this opportunity and just the opportunity to even be a contestant on Beast Games. We were so well taken care of, and I highly encourage everyone to continue watching and rooting on the remaining players because they are all incredible in their own ways, and they're fierce competitors. Like, that's how they made it to where they are right now. But yeah, just encourage them and show your support, and do the same for all the players who are now eliminated because they also gave up a little bit of their life to be there and entertain you.
Yeah, I actually cannot wait to see the rest of the show. The only thing I want to say is that overall, just coolest experience ever, coolest people ever, coolest challenges ever. Just, I'm so grateful too. I can't believe it. And there's so many things in my life that didn't make sense or didn't line up or fell through, so many disappointments and letdowns. And then to finally go on this and have it all just be the best experience ever is just such a full circle moment for me. And to be like showcased on the smart team like we were, STEM girlies take on Beast Games, just the coolest thing ever. I'm so grateful and so happy and excited to see the rest.
It was such a pleasure hearing y'all's story and breaking it all down with both of you today. And with that, everyone else, be sure to check out everything we have going on the Reality After Show. I will be back with more Beast Games coverage. We're talking traders. Survivor 50 is hitting it in February, and we have preseason coverage for that. So be sure to check that all out. Trina, Gloria, such a pleasure.
Thank you so much.